Hello students, myself Archana Maite. Today we will discuss an interesting poem of class 10 English textbook First Flight. The title of the poem is Animals and it is written by Walt Whitman. So students, first of all let's know about the poet Walt Whitman. Poet Walt Whitman is a major figure in early American poetry. In an age when all poetry was rhymed and metrical, Whitman made a break with tradition and wrote a revolutionary new kind of poetry in free verse. Okay, and our present poem, the discussing poem Animals, is also written in free verse. So, what is the meaning of free verse or what is free verse? Free verse is one type of poetry that does not rhyme or have a regular rhythm. That type of poetry is called free verse. And in the poem Animals, you can see that there is no rhyme match in the consecutive lines. So, and as this poem also doesn't contain any rhyme or rhythm, so it is a free verse. And Walt Whitman, the poet Walt Whitman, introduces this style of free verse. Introduces the tradition of writing the poem in free verse. Okay. Now let's proceed for the discussion of the poem. Before the discussion, we'll discuss the subject matter or central idea of the poem. We'll know about the poem. So, in this poem, Animals, the poet Walt Whitman presents a comparison between human beings and animals. So, the poem Animals brings out a comparison between human beings and animals. The poet admires animals for being better than human beings. It is little bit rare thing that in this poem the poet admires animals for being better than human beings, because all of us know that human beings is regarded as the best creation of God. But in the entire poem Animals, the poet Walt Whitman draws a comparison between human beings and animals, and he admires animals for being better than human beings. So, the central idea of the poem is not to admire how good animals are, but to compare humans with animals in order to focus on the flaws of human nature. We can say that the central idea of the poem is to focus on the flaws of human nature through the comparison between human beings and animals. Okay, this is the subject matter of the poem. Now, let's proceed for the explanation of the poem. We will explain the poem stanza wise. Okay, now here we'll explain first stanza with word meaning. Let's read the poem first. Read this stanza first. I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self-content. I stand and look at them long and long. So, this is the first stanza we may say. This is the first stanza of the poem. Now, as the entire poem brings out the comparison between human beings and animals, and the poet admires the animals for being better than human beings. So, according to the poet, or I think means according to me, according to the poet, I could turn and live with animals. The poet is expressing, or the poet is expressing his desire to turn towards animals and live with animals, as he feels comfortable with the animals, so he wants to turn towards animals and live with the animals. Then he is saying they are, here they refers to the animals, of course, they refers to the animals. The animals are so placid. Why the poet wants to live with the animals? Because the animals are so placid. Placid means calm, means peaceful. The animals are peaceful and self-content. Content means keep up control. Self-content means they are very much content with their or satisfied with their own life. So, as animals are living or they live in a simple life, they are very much peaceful and they are satisfied with their own livings. They are happy in their natural surroundings. This is the meaning of these two lines. Next line. I stand and look at them long and long, as the poet is admiring the animals. He is very much happy with the animals. He wants to, in fact, so he wants to live with the animals. That's why he is saying that whenever he comes closer to with the animals, he comes close to them, he stands. What he does? I stand means he stands and looks at them. They means looks at the animals long and long means for a long time. And we have to remember that the poet has used here long and long. There is the repetition of the use of the same word long. This word has been repeated here to emphasize the poet's longing. Longing for what? Longing for the two qualities. Those are reflected in animals. What are these two qualities? They are peaceful and self-satisfied. These qualities are peaceful and self-content. That means self-satisfied. So we have to remember that the repetition of the word long emphasizes the poet's longing for the two qualities of being peaceful and being self-satisfied. These qualities, according to the poet, these qualities are nowadays, these qualities are lacking in human nature. When these qualities are very much prominent in the nature of animals. So, the poet wants to live with the animals. So, this is the subject matter of this stanza. Clear? Next, proceed for the next stanza. Okay, stanza 2. First, in the same way, first we will read the stanza, then we will proceed for the explanation with word meaning. Okay. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God. So, these are the 3 lines. They do not sweat and whine about their condition. In this portion of the poem, the poet brings out the fact that the animals do not make complaints and they do not make whine. Whine means cry. Actually, whine is the sound word produced by the animals. Sound words made by animals, but here the poet has used for both human beings and animals. Okay, they do not sweat. The animals do not complain and whine and cry about their conditions like human beings, because human beings complains about their condition as they are not satisfied with their own lives, but animals are satisfied with their own lives. They are self-satisfied, they are peaceful. So they do not, the poet is saying that they do not sweat, they do not complain and whine, and they do not complain and cry about their condition. Clear? Next line. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. So, as the animals are self-satisfied, they live simply. They so they eat and sleep peacefully, as their life is so simple. So the animals eat and sleep peacefully as they have nothing to worry about. While human beings, because of their wrong actions, means sins means wrongdoings, because of their wrongdoings or wrong actions, are unable to sleep peacefully. That's why human beings never sleep peacefully. Instead of sleeping peacefully, what they do? Human beings lie awake in the dark. Means here dark refers to night. Human beings lie awake in the night. That means human beings uh, uh, pass the night sleeplessly and weep for their sins, and by weeping for their wrongdoings. Human beings spend night sleeplessly by weeping for their wrongdoings. But animals do eat and sleep peacefully, as they have nothing to worry about, as they are so much satisfied with their own lives, as they have no complaints about their condition. Okay, they do not make me sick, discussing their duty to God. In the next line, the poet is saying that the animals do not make me sick. That means the animals never bore or irritate other animals by discussing their duty to God, as they are free from praying to God, so they never irritate others about discussing the duty to God. But human beings, in one hand, they commit sins. So after committing sins, human beings talk about God and their religiousness. Their duty to God means their religiousness, or they talk about their religiosity. But while animals are simple creatures and they do not need to worry about praying to God. Actually, the poet here means that as animals are so pure, they do not pray to God for forgiveness or ask God to fulfill their desires like humans, as they have no complaint about their living. They live peacefully. Clear? So, this is the subject matter of this second stanza. Next, proceed for stanza 3. Okay. Not one is dissatisfied, not one is demented with the mania of owning things. Not one nails to another, not to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. This is the stanza 3 or third portion of the poem. Okay. Not one is dissatisfied. First of all, we can see here that through this portion, the poet has highlighted, the poet brings out the material, the attachment, the excessive attachment of human beings to material things, to material things. That's why the poet is saying at the starting of this portion that not one is dissatisfied. That means, but human animals are not dissatisfied. They are not dissatisfied. That means animals are satisfied whatever they have, because animals never, the poet says that animals do not possess material things like humans, and animals are happy and satisfied without all the worldly things or worldly items. As we know, animals do not possess any worldly things. That's why they are satisfied whatever they have. They are satisfied with their own lives. But human beings has are very much affected. Rather, they have the excessive attachment to material things, to worldly things. That's why the poet is saying that not one is demented with the mania of owning things. That means animals are not mad. There is no madness in animals for the possession of material things. But human beings are very much mad. They are very much mania. Mania means craze. They are crazy to own things, to possess things, to possess or to attain material things. This is the meaning of this person. Next, not one nails to another, not to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. Through these lines, the poet brings out that there is a tradition among human beings or in human society that they nails to others and they nails in front of their ancestors. Here, the phrase to his kind that lived thousands of years ago, this refers to the ancestors of the human beings. That's why the poet is saying that there is no tradition of nailing in front of others in among animals, but in the world of humans or in human society there is of the tradition to nail in front of another, in front of their ancestors. This is the meaning of these lines. Next line, not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. Not one is respectable or unhappy. Through this portion or through these lines, actually the poet wants to means that as all the animals are equal, there is a great quality, that is equality. Among equality, for this equality, all the animals are equal. So there is, as all of them are equal, there is no question of respect to some and insult to others. That's why the poet is saying that not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth, as all the animals are equal. But in human society or in the world of human beings, what is there? There is class distinction, and for this class distinction, some of the human beings are very much wealthy, some of them are very much poor. So poor persons are supposed to show respect to the wealthy persons for this class distinction, but as a result there is no equality among human beings. That's why some of them show respect and some of the wealthy persons or some of the uh, highly qualified persons sometimes insult others because of the class distinctions. As in the human society there is the class distinction, there is no equality. That's why there is the tradition of show respect to others, and there is also the wrongdoings of insult others. But in the world of animals, all of them are equal. That's why the poet is saying that not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth. Unlike human beings, all the animals are equal. But among human beings, some of them are respectable, some of them are busy to insult others. That's why for this quality of for this great quality, that is equality, the poet is very much fond of animals. That's why he wants to live among animals, live with the animals. So this is the subject matter of the third stanza. Next, proceed for the last stanza, that is stanza 4. Okay. So they show their relations to me and I accept them. They bring me tokens of myself. They evince them plainly in their possession. I wonder where they get those tokens. Did I pass that way huge times ago and negligently drop them? So we can see here that the poet has concludes the poem with a question to himself. Okay, first of all, so they show their relations to me and I accept them. Let's explain this stanza. The poet is saying that they show their relations. They means the animals show means reveals their relations to me. Me refers to the poet. So the poet feels a relation with the animals and I accept them. And I accept them. The poet wants to accept them, means wants to live with the animals. They bring me tokens of myself because they means the animals bring me tokens. Tokens means symbols or virtues, or here it refers to qualities. Because the animals express the qualities of myself means particularly it literally refers to the poet, but it refers to the in broad sense we have to know that it refers to the human beings. The animals reflects the qualities of human beings. They evince them. They evince. They means the animals evince. Evince means show or reveal. They reveal them plainly. They reveal them means them refers to the qualities. They reveal the qualities plainly. Plainly means prominently. So the qualities like innocence, equality, and self-satisfaction, peaceful, these type of qualities are clearly, prominently reflected in the nature of animals, in their position. They evince them plainly in their position. These qualities are clearly reflected in their nature. These qualities are in their position. That means they attain these qualities. That's why the poet is saying that they evince them plainly in their position. So clear the meaning? Okay, this is the meaning of this portion. Next, I wonder where they get those tokens. In this line, the poet is expressing his wonder or surprise. The poet is very much surprised that where they get those tokens. Where they get those tokens means they means the animals. From where the animals attain those qualities. From where they acquire those qualities. Tokens means the qualities as I said before. Okay. Now the poet is concluding the poem by asking a question to himself. Actually, this is not the question for question to himself, rather it is a big question to all the human beings that did I pass that way huge times ago and negligently dropped them? What is the question? The poet is asking that whether he dropped those qualities. Which qualities? The qualities, those once those qualities were regarded as the qualities of human beings. But nowadays, human beings are so much corrupted by the excessive materialistic attachment, materialistic pleasure, by their greed, that these qualities are no more in their nature. That's why the poet is asking that did I pass that way huge times away? Did he passed or did he drop those qualities carelessly long time ago? This is a question. This is the poet concludes the poem by asking this question to himself, but this is a big question to the towards human society, to human beings. From this poem, we have to careful about the virtues of our life. Those lost virtues, according to the poet, that he believes that humans dropped these virtues a long time ago and human beings forgotten these qualities. What are these qualities? Being peaceful, being self-satisfied, equality among all human beings, and not being so much greedy. These are the virtues. So, what is the lesson that we learn from here, from this poem? So, what is the central idea of the poem is to focus on the flaws of the human being. So, what are the flaws? What are the flaws? That human beings are nowadays very much greedy. They are not so much peaceful. They are not satisfied with their own lives, whatever they have, but they want more. That means they becomes greedy, and for this greediness, the human beings dropped their all virtues, dropped their good qualities. Okay, so we have to from this poem, we learn the lesson that we have to maintain or nurture good qualities in ourselves to live in a peaceful life, as well as to frame a better society for ourselves and also for our future generation. Okay, so this is the lesson, or this is the message that the poet wants to convey through this poem. Human beings have to nurture the good qualities, the virtues among themselves. That's all about the poem. I hope now the poem is clear to you. Next, proceed for the discussion of the literary devices used here. Okay. First of all, as I have discussed, the poem is written in free verse, so there is no rhyme scheme. Literary devices, those are used here. These are anaphora and metaphor. What is anaphora? Sorry, what is anaphora? Anaphora is the figures of speech or literary device where there is the repetition of the same words or phrase at the starting of the two or more consecutive lines of the poem. Now look at here, in this first portion the poet has started, I think I could turn and live with animals, they are so placid and self-content. Next line also the poet has started with, I stand and look at them long and long. Same way, they do not sweat and fight. Again, next line also has been started with they, and here this also has been started with, they do not make me sick, discussing their duty to God. So, not one is dissatisfied. Again, here these three lines, consecutive three lines, has been started with not. So these are the instance of the use of anaphora here. Next is metaphor. What is metaphor? Metaphor is the implied comparison between two unallied things. Here, the poet has used the words sweat and wine. The poet has used this word to compare the cry of the human beings to compare the cry of the human beings with animals crying. So this is the use of the metaphor here. Okay, that's all for the poem. Thank you for watching this video.